Hey guys, we're going to continue in our study, 40 Questions About Interpreting the Bible by Robert Plummer. Last week, we began talking about how do we interpret letters or epistles. We established that 21 of the 27 books in the New Testament are letters. We also discussed that the letters in the New Testament are very similar to a modern-day letter. They have a greeting, a body, and a salutation. A specific author writing to a specific recipient about a specific situation. We went on to discuss how do we take the meaning or original intent of the author and apply it to our lives today. Today, I want to go into more detail about how do we apply these letters to us. One way is we want to use mirror reading with caution. Mirror reading is when we take a specific writing or a specific lesson and apply it to us and assume what the meaning is, that we shape it or morph it into our current situation. That's not what we want to do. In any song, you can take one lyric out, put it into a completely different context of another song, and completely change the meaning of that one lyric. We want to make sure that we're not doing that with New Testament letters. We want to make sure that we are not taking one specific sentence or one specific verse and applying that to our entire life situation out of its context. Which leads me to my next point. We want to take block discourses and break down the letters. One helpful way of doing this is reading through a letter in its entirety and see where the author split his thoughts. Where he changed from maybe first person to second person. Maybe where he paused and says, amen. Maybe where he completely changes subject matter. Now in our modern day translations, oftentimes we can find the subheadings that split these up. Sometimes those are right, sometimes those can be a little hairy, they can be a little cloudy, but they are a helpful tool for us. But we want to make sure that we read its entirety, and then once we break it down in its blocks or in its idea points or an outline of the letter, then we can seek out what the meaning is. Then we can see, okay, what is the situation? How does this fit? A historical context is extremely helpful in this situation. However, we want to make sure that we are not breaking it down, taking it out of its context. We want to take the whole, break down into an outline, still respecting the whole, then seek out the application. A third way is we want to understand the organization. We want to understand how does the author, is he giving an imperative statement? Is he telling them to do something? Is this something that he is suggesting? Is this an encouragement? That's extremely important for us to understand today. If the author is telling them something very specific like love your neighbor or stay unified in the church, well, that's something that is an imperative. That's something that must happen. But sometimes there are suggestions. Where Paul writes to young Timothy, he says, make sure that you rest, make sure that you stay true to your calling, make sure, and these are suggestions that are not necessarily to be obeyed to the dot, but these are ideas that are specific to Paul and Timothy. So, when we're seeking out how to interpret these letters or epistles, we want to make sure that we're not taking out of context, and we also want to make sure that we're seeking out the context to understand. Most importantly, we don't read the New Testament letters just to have a historical understanding of what an author wrote to a certain recipient about a specific situation. That's not why we read the New Testament. We read the New Testament to gain theological insight on how do we live our lives today. We seek out the character of God. We seek out the standards that God has for us, that the church has always had for itself. That's why we read the New Testament. So in that, we want to make sure that we face the challenges and we don't turn away from something that we don't understand. We want to make sure that we are seeking out these theological insights. We want to make sure that we are seeking out, as Brother Doug has been talking about on Sunday mornings, the gold nuggets. We want to find the pieces that fit inside the whole to give us a clear context and a clear understanding of what these letters are and what they mean. This book has been such an encouragement to me. I challenge you guys to go out and take a book like 1 John that we've been studying on Wednesday nights, or 1 Peter that Brother Doug's been preaching about on Sunday mornings. Take these, read it in the whole, and then find the outline, find the context, then seek out the meaning of the specific topics that the author talks about. This is a way that we can challenge ourselves to read our Bibles more wholly. We can read our Bibles in a more complete way. I love you guys, and I cannot wait to see you soon.